three-handed. Obviously, that would make no sense. So, what we're going to do is left equals 1, 0, and right equals 2. Alright, now, that one there is obviously what hand it's going to be using. I'll show you kind of how this works in a minute. And then we have like subtype, is it an axe, a spear, etc. So we're going to do as 0 is, we have several different types. We have a knife, knife equals 0. Do the first one. Then we have a sword equals 1, and great sword equals 2, and axe equals 3. Oh, oops, can't have spaces. No spaces allowed. And then we have, why are you screaming at me? There, is that better? Okay, so now we have the great axe, which will be 4. And we have mace, which is equal to 5. And we have flail, which is equal to 6. We have a shield, which is technically armor, so we're not going to do that because this is a base melee class. This is for melee weapons. We probably won't even do. We'll probably have a base caster class as well to separate things out and make it more clean. And then we have a spear, which is a one-handed. We have 2 different types. So spear 1H equals 7, and then spear 2H, which equals one-handed and two-handed, if anybody was curious to know. And then we have a ranged one as well. We're also going to leave those out. We're going to have base range and base caster because we need to make sure that we separate them out and make it easier to work with. So now what we got is how far could it reach? So this will make more sense later on once we go through things a little bit more in depth as for when combat starts and stuff. So what we're actually going to end up doing is it's kind of the range of rows. The game consists of combat rows, and it's going to be one of those that reaches the first row, the second row, or the third row. So what we're going to do up here is combat good. Subtype is a list of base melee weapons that are available to the player. This does not include variants. Variants are different in all aspects. Don't need to do that one. I named that one good enough, but just for sake we will. What hand does it use? And really, that's not right. It wouldn't be left and right. Handedness would be one-handed or two-handed. One hand. Two hand. Nope, you're not going to let me do that, are you? No. Fine. No numbers in front. Can't have numbers in front. That's a no-no. There. 2 hands or 1 hand. There. So that makes more sense. Not what hand does it use. That was dumb. How many hands does it take to hold? There. Is that better? I think that's better. Do you guys agree? Alright, now range. Back to range. Range is, as we spoke about, how many rows it can hit. So we only have like a maximum of 3. So we're basically going to have 1 equals 0, and 2 equals 1, and 3 equals 2. That's very simple. How many rows can it hit? So really, 2 to 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so really, this won't matter. Well, I guess the two-handed spears can reach row 3, so I guess that would matter. And then Let's do random. I'm getting sick. I'm sorry, guys. How rare is it? Basically, how rare is it? How often will we find this in comparison to the other weapons? Is basically what it boils down to. And that being said, we have a rarity of common, which will make 0, and it's uncommon, which is 1, and we have a rare equals 2. And that's basically all that does, really, is it just says how often are we going to find it. Now, the variance for this is going to be a little bit different. The variance, I think, is going to have to be done I don't know how I'm going to do variance quite yet. I think what we'll end up doing is just a variance section. And what I'll end up doing is something like dagger equals 0 and shiv equals 1 and stiletto equals 2 and shard equals 3, and then like the scythe, it would be in here too. And what it would be is basically what it would be is it would be up to me that when I'm coding weapons to make sure that I choose the right variant. That would be kind of important. So we may end up doing it something like that. What variant is this weapon? And there may not be any variants. So we probably should put none in here actually, and change these around because there are going to be probably some no variant stuff, which is good to know. So then, I'm going to drop these down now and get them out of the way. Much better. And then we have our fixes, which are things that can go on the end of it. And for the sake of these weapons, there's only a few, and right now it's splash damage. So we're going to put none equals 0 and splash damage equals 1. Very simple. What is attached to the weapon? I know it's not really an attachment. Kirby, if you're watching, it's not really an attachment, but that's how I want to word it. Because it makes sense to me, and that's what matters. So now we have fixes, and we need the variants I already did, and the attack, the active stat, which really the active stat for this is going to be, for melee weapons, is going to be attack. So I don't actually have to make a debuff for that. Now, what I'm going to show you is what happens when we attach this to an object, and why it's so important to have those sort of things on there. And test, oh, come on, test base melee. So now if we go in here and we add in the base melee class, and oh, oops, no, that won't work. I had a brain fart. Reload. Yes. What we have to do is we actually, since this is the base class and I actually haven't done anything yet as far as specify, what we have to do now is we actually go in here and we're going to add another class, and we're going to call this a knife. CS. Because it's actually one of the first weapons we're going to be making anyway. And then put this in here, and we actually derive it from the base melee class. So we're going to change mono behavior to base melee. This needs to be knife. There. Now what's going to happen is we're going to actually set them up. Hang on a second. Okay. Where did it go? And by the way, I don't know if I ever specified why I was wearing headphones. I'm wearing headphones so that my laptop microphone does not pick up the music and drive all of you completely insane. So there's that. So now that we're in this, I'm not modifying it outside. I don't know why it's doing this to me. So what we're doing here is we're actually going to say public, and it's going to be split it, please. Thank you. It's actually going to be public handedness, and it's going to be hands. And then we're going to have public subtype, and public range, and web range, and we're going to have public rarity. Call this rarity. Oops, so no, private weapon rarity. And for naming convention, what is your problem up here? Oh, I can't spell type, that's why. We're actually going to do web subtype and web hands. That would make more sense. So now we got public variants, web variant, and public affixes, weapon affixes. And now what I was going to do is show you what I was talking about earlier. So now if we add in the knife to this, there we go. Now as you can see in the top right hand side up here, I actually have the options now to set what these things are right off the bat, which is very, very handy. Because that way when I'm making the knife, it's a one-handed, it's a knife, it's got a range of one, it's pretty common, we'll say it is. Variant, we'll just say it's a dagger this time, and it doesn't carry any splash damage. It's a very basic knife, and that allows me to easily and quickly decide what these things are right here, without having to mess around with naming them each and every time. Once I set this base weapon class up, it's very simple for me to do this sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go back in, and we are going to we're going to put all the knives together and all that stuff. We're going to set all of them up. And really setting them up is going to be the exact same thing, and that's why I like using a base class so much. So now instead of a knife we have a sword. And actually we're going to move this. We're going to add a folder. We're going to call this weapons. I'm going to put that in there. And we're going to add a folder in weapons called base weapons, or base classes. Let's go with base classes. And we're going to put base class melee in there. So that way everything is organized and clean. So inside weapons we're going to add another class, and it's going to be